Howdy folks, welcome to Live at the Lazy T Range. I'm Ron Wilson, Barrett, Chris Wilson doing the video today. Welcome to our weekly snapshot of life here on the family range. Today we're talking about scenic byways, specifically stone fences. But I have an announcement, a shameless plug that I want to make. The fourth Saturday of July has been designated as the National Day of the Cowboy. And here's we got a celebration here. So we want to have a celebration supper, a beef barbecue supper here at the Lazy T Ranch. It'll be our first wide open to the public event, and it is an in-person event. And we have the large building, tall grass arena, where it's air conditioned and we can be socially distant. So we have some wonderful musical entertainment lined up. We have a beef barbecue supper and all the trimmings served under sanitation protocols and so forth. Seating will be limited, space will be limited due to social distancing, so be watching for more information on that. And if we're under a stay-at-home order, then we'll refund the tickets and I'll eat leftovers for a long, long time. But really, we want this to be a fun, safe event, so if you're interested, be watching for information about a National Day of the Cowboy Supper here at the Lazy T Range. The ranch is located, as I've said before, along the Native Stone Scenic Byway. And if you follow a particular route between Topeka and Manhattan, you will see these signs, which identify the Native Stone Scenic Byway, one of 9 scenic byways in the state of Kansas. The route of the Native Stone Scenic Byway is kind of a giant S. Yosemite and Shawnee County goes down through Dover, through Wabaunsee County, over to Alma, up Highway 99 to Highway K18, goes east through Zingdale, right in front of the Lazy T Ranch to 177, and back south to Interstate 70. So there's great access to the Native Stone Scenic Byway. It's a really pretty route, and of course it takes its name because of these remarkable stone structures that you find along the way. On a previous slide at the Lazy T Ranch, we showed you our historic stone barn. Today I want to talk about the stone fences that are also a part of the Native Stone Scenic Byway. When the pioneers first came west and they wanted to build a fence, what did they use for fencing? Well, wood was limited. Barbed wire fence had not been invented yet. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So what could they do? Well, one of the options was to plant hedge. They could plant these Osage orange hedgeable trees together, prune them, and thorny trees would make a very tight fence. Obviously, there's some challenges and limitations with that. It absolutely blows my mind, folks, because I find myself trying to cut out those Osage oranges from fence lines out here. You can see that if they were planted right, they would make a very tight fence. That was one option. Another option was stone fence, and that proved to be pretty common in this part of the state. If you were to travel the Native Stone Scenic Byway, you would find a site where there's a Wabaunsee County historical marker, which explains that in 1867, the Kansas legislature passed a law abolishing open range and actually provided incentives for landowners to build fence. Hedge fence was an option, and stone fence was the other option. The state, under this law, would pay a landowner 40 cents per rod, a rod was 16.5 feet, to build and maintain a stone fence 4.5 feet tall. 16 feet long, 4.5 feet tall. Folks, that is a lot of rocks. That is a lot of work. Can you imagine with hand labor, horse, mule, oxen, gathering these rocks and building these fences 4.5 feet tall and the length of your property? They got paid 40 cents per rod for doing it, but it sure looks like an awful lot of hard work to me. What kind of rocks are these? Geologists told me, and I saw an exhibit at the Flint Hills Discovery Center, which I highly recommend. That is a great resource, fantastic museum. They had an exhibit there about the stone, and it said chert, which is the other name for flint, It's chert or flint-bearing Permian limestone. So there's really two kinds of rock. One was the flint, and the characteristic of the flint was that it was very brittle, hard, and when it would fracture, it would leave a very sharp edge. And that made Indians loved it because it was great for arrowheads, for spearheads, for hide scrapers. The flint was terrific for that purpose. But it was embedded in this Permian limestone, and the limestone was very strong and great for construction. And so you did see homes, you had that layer of rock they could use for homes, they could use for stone fences. Many of these fences were dry laid fences, meaning that there was no mortar, but they were intricately laid, and if you do it just right, build it up from the base and then put some stones at an angle across the top, they make beautiful fences and effective fences. We still have original stone fences here at the Lazy T Ranch, and we still use some of them. And most of them are dry lay fences, and so it's been a century plus, so some of those fences have not held up. We can put a couple of strands of barbed wire fence over the top of a stone fence, and it actually works pretty well. This particular stone tower